welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Allspot-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hello, my dear.
And you look beautiful.
Oh, thanks. I still have, I was at a event last night that an incredible woman, Jennifer Schultz, who's a stylist, puts on every month, and it's at the Westlake Village Inn in California, in Westlake, which is where I live, and it features real women models, and then they have a charity that's a beneficiary. So Act Today was the beneficiary, and I modeled. It was end of summer fashion bash, so we modeled, a lot of flowy, bohemian-looking beach cover-ups and shorts, and just fun stuff.
I can't wait to see the pictures, and I can't believe you're not sharing them with us here.
They put extensions on me, and I wore this kind of gypsy-looking hat and this kind of Stevie Nicks-looking dress. So my hair's still kind of, I guess, what they call the beach look. Well, thank you. They were hot ironing it and everything, but I came home last night at 11 o'clock exhausted and fell into bed with the false eyelashes they put on me. And this morning I woke up with my eyes stuck shut.
Oh, man.
It was just like, okay. But all the primping and styling, that's a whole other world.
Oh, you know what they say? Beauty hurts.
Beauty hurts. My feet were hurting.
Yeah.
The eyelashes were itching. Yeah, beauty.
I like comfortable too much.
Comfortable is good. I don't know how all those women do it.
I don't either.
Yeah. So, but it was fun, and I think we raised some good money. All the raffle proceeds went to Act Today, which was great. Yeah.
You're out there, hard-working mama, making money for the folks with autism.
For me to put on, short shorts and beach cover-ups and walk around a pool in front of, 100 people, that's working hard.
That is working hard. Don't kid yourself. That is working hard. So we've got a great show today.
We do.
We got a lot of things to talk about. A great guest that's going to be with us in just a little while.
Yeah, very interesting guy who is doing a lot of work on healing power of music, the healing power of music in many conditions, and is now wanting to work with autism spectrum.
Okay.
And interesting, last night I met somebody from the David Lynch Foundation. The David Lynch Foundation does meditation for various illnesses and disorders and chronic conditions, and they are interested in doing something with doing some sort of clinical trial with CARD or Act Today or whomever, studying the power of meditation with children on the spectrum.
Great.
Which could be very interesting.
I think it'd be great if they did it with the parents, too.
Don't we need it?
Hello.
You and I were just saying, at school's starting back up. We'll talk about that later in the show.
Yes. But we have some news, three interesting stories in the news this week. The first one, a study about genetics, talking about that there may be this one genetic difference that leaves, it's like a switch that gets left in the on position. And that when it's left in the on position, it makes a difference in how your brain develops, and that could be one of the things that is potentially leading to autism. We've been looking at genetics and what it does for a long time, but they're saying that this is a really definitive discovery, that as they've been finding the different markers, they haven't been able to identify what it actually leads to, and that this is the first thing that they can point to, that they go, okay, we see what this does. It's on, and it should be going on and off at key times, and that it could be causing the brain to develop a little too quickly. We know from looking at MRIs that a lot of kids with autism, at the age of 3, they could have a brain the size of a 14-year-old, and it hasn't had time to make the connection.
Right.
And this could be why this one genetic difference. And so as they're looking at this, once they know what it does, that brings them closer to knowing which medicine might be the thing to look at.
Okay, it's called the UBE3A enzyme. It was switched permanently on and became hyperactive, which caused the abnormal development of the brain. And this is out of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Which you're very familiar with.
Yes, so, alma mater of my father and most of the people in my family, not me. I was a Virginia Commonwealth University girl.
But very exciting. We'll look forward to hearing more about this.
Yes, we will. And there's another story coming out about teaching students with autism how to code.
Yeah.
which is very interesting.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I know a little bit about coding now from a class that I took with Jem last summer, but do you know anything
I
about
know
coding?
really nothing about coding. I just
It
know there's
hurts
a
my
whole group
head.
about girls who code, and
Yes.
yeah, I'm not a techno geek.
Nor am I.
We
We're,
laughed because Shannon called herself a techno geek once,
I,
and Kelby and I were going,
and what I meant to say was that I enjoy it. I didn't mean to say geek because that implied I
well,
knew
you
what I
go
was
beyond
doing.
me in enjoying it. I get left. Like last night at this event, everybody was like, trying to tag me, going, "Are you on Instagram? Are you on this? Are you on that? Are
Right.
you on this?" And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm on all of them, but I don't know what my anything is."
All right, we have to
Except
fix that.
Facebook.
We have to
Right.
fix that because that's a thing that must be fixed.
Yes.
But a
Back
lot
to
of our
coding.
kids have a predisposition to liking computers
Yes.
and to
Puzzles
getting it a
and
little
games.
faster.
Yes.
And so there's a school, Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission, which is MRESC, for students with developmental disorders such as autism.
Where is that?
It's in Piscataway, which I don't know where Piscataway is.
Okay.
But it's in Piscataway, which is a mouthful just to say.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, they are taking particular interest in teaching these kids how to code. I think this is the beginning of the right direction to
I
go
agree.
in.
I agree.
Instead of putting kids in special ed classes and teaching them heaven only knows what, right? Why not give them some real meaningful instruction
That
in
they
things they're good
excel
at?
in, yes, and are drawn to.
And they're also using NAO robots, which I don't even know what NAO
B-bots.
is. That B-bots?
Yeah, it says.
So, they're talking about robots. I think this is exciting. We've tried to, over the years, put Jem in classes. He's taken some coding classes with some different. There's something called Scratch, which you guys can find online right now, and it is simple enough that you can do it with a kindergartner.
Really?
Scratch, because it's color coded, and they can take chunks of things and put it together and have it change something.
So you just
can
go to
start with Scratch. Put in Scratch coding, and you'll find so many
I want to
things
see
having
if
to do
Wyatt
that.
would like that.
I bet he would.
He's not as technologically oriented as Jem is, but he does like the computer, of course.
And I think he would love Scratch.
'Cause he
and
loves
there are
colors.
things to do. And it is all color coded. And then from there, they can learn all kinds of other. I'm trying to think what the next one was that Jem. So Jem has done like 5 kinds of coding now, going into the 7th grade. And he kind of loves it. The camp that he went to this summer, one of the camps he went to this summer was about learning how to code for Minecraft.
Okay, he loves that Minecraft.
One of the classes was Java, and the other one was something else.
Okay.
See, this is how technologically inclined I am. Excuse me. But I think that this is great. We want to say congratulations to Bright Beginnings Learning Center, which is part of the Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission.
Right.
To be forward thinking.
Now, another thing that was mentioned in this article, Shannon.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've talked about this on the show without me. It's worth an entire segment. And that is the 2001 Wired magazine article by Steve Silberman, The Geek Syndrome, which also, I believe, isn't he on the TED Talk?
I believe so.
Yes, he is the guy who did the TED Talk. I may be wrong about that, but this article has attracted a lot of attention, and he has gone so far as to say attributed an increase in autism cases in Silicon Valley to adults with autism and Asperger's being drawn to high-paying STEM jobs in the area than having kids. And he does not think that autism is on the increase. He believes that there were always these geeks among us, I guess you would say, and that there is it's simply that they were not identified before, and that the geeks have always been out there, and that people with these brains have always been out there. So that's another interesting thing that we might want to talk about.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. Different point of view. And then just this morning, so I haven't had a great deal of time to spend with it, Science Daily reported This is something coming from the Salk Institute, that the receptors in the brain linked to schizophrenia and autism, that they feel that they have more information than ever before because of a recent study. And again, it's mice, which I always wonder, like, how are we having this transfer? But mice that were lacking a set of receptors in one type of neuron in the brain developed compulsive antisocial behaviors. And they're saying that this is an important find. It's called the MGLUR5. It's until now, nobody has studied their specific role in a cell type known as a parvellibum positive interneurons. Can you imagine maybe 10 years from now, that's going to roll trippingly off of all of our tongues because of, big discovery, but it has to do with general cognition and that, this social interaction.
Right.
And that there's some sort of oscillatory wave pattern in the brain that it creates that causes people to be more compulsive. We know that there are some links between schizophrenia and autism.
Yes.
That frightens me to death.
And they're saying anxiety as well. The separate studies have revealed that mGlu-R5 receptors, which transmit glutamate signaling in the brain, are linked to addiction disorders, anxiety, and Fragile X syndrome.
So we need to know more about this. I love that they're getting in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I want to know, when does it come down to?
That's what I want to know. When do some of these studies come down to?
Yes.
Treatment.
But
and
some people that we've had on the show are doing some pretty exciting studies right now. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook that one of the doctors that we've had on the show, and his name escapes me in this moment because I have early onset of menopause. But they're in San Diego. They're asking for participants to be a part of a study right now because they have a drug that they want to try.
Really?
Yes. I will share with you. Gem doesn't qualify for it, but you'll have to look at it and see why it does.
Okay.
But very interesting. The doctor that we had on, from San Diego, that was studying Fragile X and that was asking for teeth donations because they were grinding them up and trying medicine. They've got a medicine that they want to try.
Okay. Yeah, I want to hear
Very
more about
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
great.
I'll get that together and we'll talk about it maybe next week.
Okay.
All right. We have a great guest. We're going to take a break and then we're going to be back. I think we're going to be back with Steve Robertson. I had shared with him yesterday that we were going to have the folks from Raymond Rocks on.
Okay.
And that has been changed. We're going to have them on in a couple of weeks.
Right.
We're postponing our Diamond Extravaganza.
Yeah.
Although we should mention about the fabulous raffle. Because that's from Raymond Rocks, is it not?
Yes, they donated a $15,000 diamond necklace.
That's some diamonds. That's some glitz, some sparkle.
It's beautiful, and actually, it doesn't look ostentatious. I mean, it looks like something you could wear out to dinner, and you wouldn't feel like you're, trying to be the Queen of England.
Okay.
They're very pretty diamonds, and
but I like to look like the Queen of England when I'm at dinners. I'm just saying.
Well, you can, and you do. So anyway, you can go on acttoday.org, act-today.org, or Denim and Diamonds for Autism. I think it's .net. Anyway, we can post something on the page,
yes, we
right?
absolutely can.
And we want to sell raffle tickets. You can get 4 tickets for $150, and you can get 1 ticket for $50. I know that seems a little steep, but it's a tax donation, and you would get a $15,000 necklace. And this is we're only selling 300 tickets, so it's
You've
not like
got good odds. It's for a good cause.
It's good odds, good cause. So if you can't attend Denim and Diamonds and you want to make a donation, please go to our website and you might win that diamond necklace.
Who knows? It could happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to somebody.
It's going to happen to somebody.
There we go. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Steve Robertson, musical therapist, and more right after these messages.
My name is Rachel. My son is Kyle. He has autism.
I am Kyle. I am 9 years old.
He's been with CARD since he was 2 years old, so that's about 7 years. We've been really fortunate that we've seen so much change in Kyle that you would really not even realize he has autism.
The front of the book has an artwork piece.
Is that me?
No, that's a self-portrait, that's why.
I thought so. Look, you're wearing the same kind of color shirt. He had been going along with pretty main milestones. He had walked on time, he had sat on time, he was looking at me at different things and laugh, and he had about 5 words, and then all of a sudden he lost the words. And I would call his name and he wouldn't look at me anymore. He all of a sudden went into his own world. I mean, I just noticed like he slipped away from us. I got into UCLA because somebody called in sick one day, and we were on her waiting list, but she said, oh, I had a cancellation, can you bring your son in today? I took my son in with my mom, and we had a 2.5-hour appointment where they observed his behavior, noticed they didn't have any words. He was climbing all over things and jumping off her furniture because he had no sense of fear. He couldn't actually feel very much. The doctor told me, ask for a card, you can call them. I called them and got on their waiting list, and then I started researching what ABA was. ABA with CARD was the only scientific-based research that had shown that children could improve, or now they even say recover. And my son, I think, having all this therapy early, he's going to graduate from CARD. He's going to be able to be part of the community as a typical kid. How does it make you feel when you play the violin?
It makes me a little bit calmer.
Kyle, early on, he only liked baby food, and even at age 4, he was eating baby food, and he liked lots of flavors, but he didn't like anything with the texture. So he wanted everything pureed. So if you can imagine, as a mom, I'm up, cooking carrots and then pureeing them when he couldn't just have a carrot. It was really time consuming, and I could get the protein and everything into him, but he wasn't eating like a typical child. It was 1 year later, he, instead of eating blended bananas, he was now, peeling the banana and biting into the banana. Taking a hot dog on a gluten-free bun and biting into it. I mean, that is just amazing. So that was one of the main things I came home thinking, wow, this is great. It really was a relief for me because I was doing a lot of blending. I think I went through 3 blenders, and that's just not every mom that wants to have a regular meal and be able to have the same food with their son. So it really helped. Right now, he's on the road to recovery, we call it, and I really do think that Kyle, in a year or 2, will not even need assistance with therapists. He really is in a typical class, and he's at the highest level. He's in the advanced level. He's in a GATE class. I don't even think anyone knows in his class he has autism because he's just there.
This is a mobile. I got a very good grade on it. I got 4 because my teacher said that she learned a lot about Neil Armstrong. This is a drawing of Neil's first footprint on the moon.
Is his footprint still there?
Yeah, it is, in his boots.
And his boots?
He left his boots on the moon.
He did. Everyone thinks he's very kind, and he gives hugs to everyone, so the social interaction is there. He's very intelligent. He's highest in his class, and he makes friends, and he loves to read, and he's just a part of groups when he meets people.
My first trip to SeaWorld, I wrote it, but I wanted to make sure that you noticed that the sun is moving higher.
What does that signify?
That signifies that time is going. This is artwork in a frame. That took me a lot of work to do. I have some instruments over here. Something inspired me to make instruments. This was from last year for a fundraiser. This is the surfing pictures.
So here you're going on the surfboard, and did you stand up right away?
Yeah, I did.
You did. And show us how your stance on the surfboard. Ready? Go. And what's your favorite part about surfing?
The very first time I loved the wipeout. And I hope that you enjoyed me, Mom, and all of my interests in learning a little bit about me. The end.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity of
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we are joined now in the studio by Steve Robertson. Hello, Steve. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yes, and we had said that you were a music therapist, but that's not quite correct. You are actually a music researcher. You are an entrepreneur who's done a lot with music as a healing tool,
Yes.
should I say?
Yes.
Okay, and your life mission is to spread spiritually inspirational music in content to create a world of love, good, and peace and health, correct?
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the origin of music used in a spiritual healing context.
Well, the curious thing about music, above and beyond the art form that I think people really most recognize it is this: if you literally look at every spiritual text, religious text on the planet, beginning with the Upanishads, which is the oldest spiritual text on the planet, 10,000 years older than the Bible, the Upanishads actually translates into the last song. The Bhagavad Gita, 3,000 years older than the Bible, translates into song celestial. And in the Bible, the word means primary harmony. So the first bone to develop in the fetus is the ear bone. The first sense to develop in the fetus is hearing. The last sense to go when we die is hearing. Music is the only art form where right and left hemispheres of the brain work simultaneously. And MIT has shown through PET scans that the pineal gland, or what mystics might call the third eye, this is the area of the brain that processes music. So in addition to this, the top quantum physicists on the planet say the whole thing works through sound. So music, there's the seminal book, in my opinion, on music is called The Mysticism of Sound and Music by Hazrat Inayat Khan, the 14th century Sufi master. And he states that people say that the soul, on hearing the song of creation, entered the body. But in reality, the soul itself was the song. And he goes on to say there is no greater way to attain spiritual enlightenment and or awareness than through music, if only the music is rightly understood. So to that degree, what I have been researching for almost now 30 years of my life is, what is this rightly understood music? So I'll use, there's a film called Copying Beethoven, where the actor Ed Harris plays Beethoven. And it's about the relationship he has with a woman who's scribing his music, hence the name Copying Beethoven. Mm-hmm. And in the film, he is a highly abusive and dismissive human being of this very lovely woman who's just trying to help him. Mm-hmm. One day when they're alone, out of guilt and shame, he slams his hand down on the table. He says, "What's the deal? Why do you take this from me? Stand up for yourself." And she starts to weep. And she says, "I do this because I hope by being in your presence one day, I might be able to write great music like you." So this so sincerely moves him that he finally sits at the table with her like this, eye to eye. He wants to share with her the intimacy and the volition through which this music is occurring through him. And he says these words, "This is what I have been looking for 30 years of my life." He says, "The vibrations on the ear are the breath of God,
Beautiful.
speaking to man's soul. Music is the language of God. We musicians are as close to God as man can be. We hear his voice, we read his lips, and we give birth to the children of God
Beautiful.
who sing his praise." That is what musicians are. And if we are not that, then we are nothing. And I think this is why, as many of the listeners may know, these great composers like Beethoven and Bach and Chopin and Mozart, they would literally write at the top of their compositions the Latin initials AMDG, ad mortem de gloriam, for the greater glory of God. So I think we're all familiar with the phrase of Hippocrates, which says, physician, heal thyself. And music is probably the most expedient way to move the mind and consciousness back into alignment with that state of atonement, if you will, where the body is in a maximum opportunity to heal itself. When the mind, from a perspective of the Buddhist, would be when we have a monkey mind and our mind is fractured and it's thinking.
It's busy.
It's too busy. The mind can't be still, and this overrides the immune system to such a degree where the natural remedies that we have within the body, can come to play and really assist us to find greater peace, to find greater clarity, to find greater understanding.
And there may be people out there who are listening to this and have an element of doubt that music can be used this way. But in fact, the studies have been showing lately that, and much to the chagrin to people who are very much into Western medicine, but for instance with heart patients, that if they sing on a regular basis, that they do better than patients who don't, and that they make a better recovery. If they're listening to certain types of music, we find that people are having better health and showing more recovery. It's really easy to dismiss, but the studies are showing that music is something that is helpful in a lot of different circumstances.
And you actually were involved in a research study. Can you tell us about that at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica?
I met a wonderful young Dr. Todd Foreman, who was in the last years of his medical practice, and he was a musician of quite well-known rock band, and he had a strong interest. So we did a double-blind study at St. John's Santa Monica Hospital there, and we had 80 women in this, and we were basically researching how sacred types of music like Vangelis and Kitaro and Enya and such reduce pain and stress during the delivery process, and in fact it did. It was the results were overwhelmingly positive.
Great.
And this was an extension of a larger body of work which I had been working on for years. Originally took a music therapy program to Scottish Rites Hospital for the crippled children in Dallas, and we were going to implement it there, and certain politics got involved, with it, and then I looked to do this at the Haight-Ashbury Clinic, which is the oldest drug detox clinic, because I felt clearly there's a correlation between, the frequency of thought that people have and the frequency of these substances that they're being pulled into a dysfunctional relationship with. And eventually we were able to do this study at St. John's. So during anxiety,
labor,
during the delivery process,
during that entire process.
So
you're now interested in working with children with autism with music.
Sure.
And tell us what you feel music can offer. And if parents, let's first tackle that question, then I want to get practical, because we have, obviously our listeners are primarily parents of children with autism. So I'd like to get your suggestions on some things they can do now to maybe use the healing power and the calming power of music with some of their kids on the spectrum. But first, tell us why you'd like to work with the autism spectrum and what you feel could be accomplished.
Well, I think clearly there's some sort of abnormal thought process occurring with autistic children. And I believe fundamentally that music has an ability to calm the mind and to recenter consciousness in such a way where the mind can be still and thoughts can be connected in more of a rational and logical means.
So that you feel that if children are subjected to music on a continual basis, how would it work?
Specific types of music.
Okay.
And there are basically two ways that you could do this. You could have ambient music playing in the background of the home and speakers, calming music, or the child could be given headphones to listen to for a period of time in a concentrated way. Just to reflect, I mean, when I was growing up in high school, my friends and I were I raced motocross. We listened to the hardest rock you could back then, back in '76. Yeah, this is more Led Zeppelin and stuff.
Led Zeppelin, yeah, I was that era too.
So anyway, I came in junior high to English class, which I hated English class. Writing and reading I hated, and the English teacher was really cool though, and she said, "Look, we're not going to do class today. We're just going to listen to some music and turn the lights off." And I was exhausted. I said, "Well, look, I'll just take a nap. I mean, whatever music she's going to play won't be too cool." So, but anyway, I put my head down on the desk, and she turned the lights out, and she dropped the needle of the phonograph on "Dark Side of the Moon" by Pink Floyd, and I'd never heard of this band before, and I was really on a visual journey, for the next 60 minutes of this process. The musicians that I have worked with, I have an organization called Project Peace on Earth.
And you've worked with some outstanding musicians.
Yeah.
Can you mention just a few of them?
Sure, yeah.
Peter Gabriel, who
Peter,
of course everybody knows.
Yeah, worked with Peter.
Stuart Copeland from The Police.
From The Police, yeah.
Right.
Sasha Cooke, who won the Grammy for Best Opera Album.
Opera, so you incorporate opera.
Oh yeah, what I'm really looking for is this music of the spheres. Pythagoras was the father of mathematics, and he coined this term. And basically, it's my belief that there are certain musicians, because of their spiritual practice and their devotion, they can tune into what Pythagoras would call the music of the spheres. And these are basically a series of frequencies and harmonics which would be analogous to what the industrial psychologist Maslow would have called a state of self-actualization, or what certain spiritual teachers like Yogananda or etc. would call a state of self-realization. So in other words, these would be thoughts like love and compassion and forgiveness and empathy, these higher orders of thinking which moves consciousness out of a linear and dualistic right, wrong, good, bad view of the world, and it moves consciousness into a holographic perspective of seeing how everything is lovingly and divinely interconnected. And
We are all one.
Oh, yeah, and I believe that. And I believe the soul already operates on this core frequency,
And of
music
course,
of the spheres.
all of the great spiritual leaders taught this.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Om, Amen, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, Christ, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing somatically. I mean, I grew up as a fundamentalist Christian, but when I started to read these other books, I could begin to say, I mean, they're all really teaching the same.
God of love.
Yeah, it's a God of love. Love is God, God is love, And so what I've really looked to curate for the past 30 years of my life is this music of immanent love. What launched me into this was when I was going to school at Louisiana Tech University in north central Louisiana, I promise, nice school, hardly the cultural mecca of the world. They had a very progressive radio station there. And one night when I was studying for an exam, they did a full album play of this artist I'd never heard of, Mike Oldfield. And I listened to the album. I said, I never heard genius like this. It was classical, it was jazz, it was rock, it was many things. I didn't know that Mike had been, at that time, he was the first artist signed by Virgin Records. He was the artist that made Virgin Records. He made Richard Branson the fortune. And I basically went down the rabbit hole. I explored any and all music related in that genre. Vangelis, Kitaro, Enya.
A lot of the so-called new age.
Yeah, a lot of the new age music. And I kept, there was just a persistent pull at my heart to say, what is it? I knew something was fundamentally different about this music. And I remembered that quote from the Bible, knock on the door will open, seek and you shall find. I said, I'm going to knock on the door until my knuckles are bloody. I got to know the answer. What's special about this music? So at the time, I had two friends going through chiropractic college in Dallas, and they were required to read Dr. Bernie Siegel's book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles. And Bernie had a theory that basically cancer was manifesting in a body in a particular psychosomatic area that was symbolic to that person to heal and move through. So I got about halfway through the book, and I said, he's not really talking about healing from cancer. What he's really talking about is learning unconditional love for yourself. And that's when I had the light bulb moment. I said, that's what's coming through this music. I remember when Kitaro first landed in North America, I had an opportunity to meet him backstage and spend time with him. And he had just, a few months prior, done a free concert for 3,000 pregnant women. Now, imagine the intention of this human being. And he says, look, he doesn't compose music. He says, I don't know how the music
He's
comes
a
to me.
conduit. We've had many artists, the artist that
Michael
Tolson, who is an adult with Asperger's,
He
who
refers to
started,
himself as a savant artist.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Didn't
Yes,
start
and
painting
just-
until he was 51, 52.
and paints these, it just comes out of him. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're talking about. Let's get down to some practical ways that parents that are listening today can utilize some of this music. First of all, you have a website.
We do.
Yes, and we're going to put that on
our Facebook.
on our
because
Facebook
it's
page.
a long
It's a
website.
long one because it's Project Peace on Earth. Anyway, we're going to put that on.
People
our,
can go to peaceonearth.org, but then there
Oh,
are
yeah,
some
it's
specific links. But you can go to peaceonearth.org.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's projectpeaceonearth.org.
Project Peace
Project
on Earth.
Peace on Earth, excuse me.
ProjectPeaceOnEarth.org.
And
Now,
there's free music on there.
free
That,
music.
yeah,
Now
that-
tell us about what you think some of this music could do, because some of it parents are able to download it and play it for their children.
Sure.
Tell us what you think that the music could do for kids on the spectrum, maybe kids that have a lot of anxiety. My son suffers from anxiety and OCD. A lot of our children have tantrums where they escalate, and we need something to bring them down. So tell us about what you think some of this music might be able to do.
The nature of the music that we have is calming by its design. It doesn't mean that it's not potentially exciting to listen to. Yanni, as an example, is a musician that does music that has a lot of excitement in it. And let me, if I can, share. When I was in college, I was a DJ. Listening to Mike Oldfield so inspired me, and I was a super, I was an audiophile. I knew everything rock and roll. When I heard this guy's music, I said, I've never heard anything like this. So I did an hour of hardcore new wave music like Ramones, Vapors, Producers, REM,
That's
B-52.
my era.
Yeah, that was my era too. And then I did an hour of this sort of ambient new. I don't even think they called it new age back then. So I did an hour of that, and I just began to notice that even though the music of this new wave genre was not angry or hurtful like a lot of hip hop and I would say almost all rap music. If your children are listening to this, please stop now. Do not allow them to listen to this music. It's like
The
pouring,
message, and the sound.
well,
sound.
I'll look at this. If you've ever been in a car, next to a car that has their windows down with rap music, where do you feel the energy? In large part, you feel here. So
Yeah, you
Yeah,
hear
it
that
rattles.
booming. It rattles the
Yeah,
nerves.
it actually, because I have a heart arrhythmia and it throws my heart out of rhythm. I hate it.
So this is what it's actually doing. Some people may or may not be familiar with the Hindu energy systems, the chakras in the bodies, but the bottom line is the lower chakra energy, which is about power, domination, control, sex, etc., is very different from the heart chakra, which is about love and peace and kindness and compassion, etc. So what this rap music is literally doing is it's taking lower chakra energy and it's imprinting it into the heart chakra.
We don't need that.
We don't need that.
This just creates an additional agitation,
Yeah.
etc. So basically, when I started to do both of these the new wave music, I did an hour of hardcore new wave music, which was a lot of fun. It was rascalish, but
Yeah.
never was abusive or
Right,
hurtful or
right.
anything. And then I did an hour of this more new age type music, and I just began to notice that I got that emotional and sort of spiritual high that I was always looking for in music when I was a little kid. I remember when I would get goosebumps to listening to music, and that was like, wow, that was like the most amazing thing ever. And that was what I was always looking for in music. And I could get some of that out of the new wave music, but afterwards I would feel like a wrung out rag. I'd feel tired, I'd feel agitated, I was reactive, and etc. And I noticed with this more new age or ambient music that I got that spiritual euphoria, but I was calm, I was centered, I was rational, I seemed to be able to tap into a level of wisdom that was uncharacteristic of my awareness. And by the way, I spent after reading Bernie's book, and I got that light bulb moment, I spent 10 years writing a position paper on the effects of music and consciousness through the lens of spiritual texts and quantum mechanics and etc. So you see, this isn't kumbaya woo-woo.
Right.
This
No,
is
no.
like
This is-
rocks are
this is
hard,
real.
water's
Yeah.
water's
This is a
wet.
real effect on the brain.
Yeah, and
Well-
there's a great study. It was done by Dorothy Redlack and The Secret Life of Plants. She did, that's also in this in the article, and she took seeds of various plants, all the same genetic lineage, and they were put in hermetically sealed boxes with controlled environments, so nothing can affect them. And the only control factor they had was the type of music that they were playing. So as the seedlings grew, one was played classical music, another was played Gregorian sacred music, another was played jazz, and another was played acid rock.
Right.
And
And some of the plants died.
the plants that were played acid rock died. The plants that were played rock music, did okay. The ones that were played jazz, grew okay. The ones that, the classical music grew slightly larger. And the ones that were played, the sacred music, the plants actually started to wrap around the speakers.
So how can we get our kids to listen to this music more? Should parents be more
Got to take a
proactive
role. Indeed.
on
Indeed.
getting spiritual
Play the
music
table.
into their cars, put it in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we get our kids to, really tune
I think
into this?
the background noise, right?
I think it's just a function of exposing children to the music. I've done lots of experiments with, personal experiments with teenagers, and I said, look, have you ever heard this guy like Mike Oldfield? And he has a song called Weightless, which is, most of his stuff is genius. He's a prodigy. He does 30 instruments, at a prodigy level. And I play this song to them. They go, wow, I've never heard anything like that before. And when they're exposed to it, they get glued to it because it feels good and it makes them happy.
So
Well,
we can find this music, because we're almost
Yeah,
out of time, but
sure.
we can find this music by going to
If you go to
projectpeaceonearth.org.
Yeah, just look for free music.
Okay.
Free music. And we encourage parents to go there, download it. There are also CDs available, is that, or not?
We don't, we will, I'm in the process of doing a large-scale research, formal research project on music with MRIs and CAT scans and et cetera, so that we can quantify this in a very specific way.
So we'll keep people updated on that.
Can do that, but
about
for
how we can get it.
right now, pretty much anything done by, artists like Yanni or Vangelis or Kitaro or
What about the chanting type music?
Of course, Gregorian chant music, wonderful. We have a whole host of amazing musicians, samples of music you can download, and then you can explore buying whatever album they have. Ricky Kijay and I are working on a large-scale research project. Ricky just won the Grammy for Best New Age Album in 2014 for his album Wings of Samsara with Walter Kellerman, who's also one of our musical ambassadors. And this album is, I promise, it's just genius. And
we're almost out of time. We're gonna
we appreciate
put all
you being
of
here
this.
and giving us all this
I'm
information.
gonna start.
And it's something to try.
You gave me a CD that I put in the car, and my son will listen to it on occasion. And he also, Dr. Andrew Levinson, who's a very well-known autism doctor, does sacred chanting and has a recording of that Wyatt listens to. And I find it's very calming. So thank you for sharing it. We hope you're going to be involved in a research project specifically with our kids, and we'll keep people updated on that.
And remember, it's www.projectpeaceonearth.org. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back to close out the show. But thank you for being with us.
Oh, you're really welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Riley has high-functioning autism, and I'd say I noticed somewhere between 9 months and a year. Looking back now, I can tell you everything. I mean, there was no pointing, there was no shared experiences, speech was not coming, the interactive play was not coming, those things weren't happening. You go to the pediatrician, they tell you, well, sometimes boys are slow or things might take a while to come along, but it still wasn't happening. And right when he hit the 2-year-old room in preschool is when the wheels fell off the wagon. That's when we got some intervention. That's when we figured out, how are we going to address this problem. The first thing I did was I got a mentor, because there's no book on what to do with your autistic child. I mean, there's many books, but each path is individual. So I got a mentor, a really nice woman named Marlene. She has a daughter with Asperger's, and she told me, go to a psychiatrist so you can have your child fully diagnosed and a rock-solid diagnosis that can't really be attacked. Call CARD and do whatever they tell you to do. That was probably the thing she talked about the most. Get in touch with CARD. She actually put me in touch with Evelyn from CARD, and calling CARD was like amazing, because I really felt like things were finally going to be okay. We were going to get the help we needed.
We tried a number of different things before we could get into CARD, and you could really see the difference in the data keeping, really addressing what his issues were, whereas the other places we had been, it seemed pointless to me.
We've talked about this, and I feel like we met a lot of really nice, well-intentioned people.
Right.
And then when we got to CARD, we met a lot of really nice people who could help us because they had the experience. It was ABA, which I think is the only way to go with your child if you're trying to overcome autism. And if you go to CARD, the people are so qualified, and there's so much of a database on how to approach this. It's just like they come right in, and we started off with, let's have Riley sit down for 2 seconds, because he couldn't even get that. And we worked on baby steps until now he's in 1st grade and he's working at grade level. So it just starts with baby steps, and it keeps working on, because they have a way to approach every single problem, every single tantrum, every single thing you're going to come up with. They have a way to approach it and help you get through it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed, like at our clinic, we'll be having a specific problem, and how good they are, all of them, the therapist and your team leader, at coming up with a solution, something to try, and it almost always works. whatever the particular behavior you're trying to deal with. They're really good at them. They know the answers.
He likes a lot of stuff I think regular 7-year-olds like. He likes to swim.
He loves to swim.
He's a fish. Likes to ride a scooter, loves Toy Story, loves playing on the iPad.
Loves
Loves
Justin Bieber.
Thought you all baby mine.
Good job, buddy.
High five.
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
CARD's been good about encouraging us to do things that maybe wouldn't occur to us, like him learning to ride a bike was really them saying, hey, it's time, let's do this, and helping us do that. And so he can ride a bike. He's still working on the brakes a little bit, but you know, he can pedal a bike. We can go to Balboa Park and he'll ride happy as a clam along the bike path.
If you think something's wrong, it's not about you. Don't bury your head in the sand. Go get help, because the help is out there to make your life and your child's life just so much better. And if you're lucky enough to get in with CARD, I can't even tell you what a difference it's made in our lives from 4 years ago. Just the quality of life we have, the quality of life Riley has, the progress he's made from being a child who wanted to stay in his room and play Toy Story and line up his Toy Story dolls all day to a first grader who's working at grade level. It couldn't have happened without CARD intervention, without ABA, and without all the wonderful people we met there.
Welcome back. Shannon and I were just saying, please slap some headphones on us and give us some Gregorian chant music.
Right. And I love that
think
he
it does help the moms.
Yes, I love that he wants to help our kids, but
I do
but I'm
too.
like, where are the moms
I'm
in this
telling
equation?
you, when I listen, the
need
CD
this.
he gave me of this healing music of a lot of these New Age artists, I listen to it when I am stressed, and it goes woo right down.
And let's face it, it trickles down, right?
Absolutely.
If mom is calm, you know what they say about if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy?
We know this. We know this.
Yes.
And anyway, we're all a little stressed about school starting again, and a little happy too, because summer, let's face it, for autism moms is a time of constant taking our kids to here, there, and everywhere.
It's like juggling grizzly bears.
It is. I love that. So we do need Gregorian chant music, but we had some fun times this summer.
We did.
Our kids participated in the Miracle Project CARD summer camp called Superhero Camp.
Yes, that's them. Kelby's showing the
Kelby's
picture.
showing the pictures. There's Wyatt's going like that. Where's Jim?
Jem's in the back row.
Okay, the tallest.
The tallest in the back row.
Yes.
And there they are again.
There they are again with Coach
Look at Wyatt.
Elaine. Isn't she great?
Oh, Coachy is fabulous. And Jem's in the background, and Wyatt's doing a beautiful, Statue of Liberty pose.
Yeah. And I also had the great joy of taking my son to Horse Camp CARD Special Spirit. I'm on the board of Special Spirit, and there Wyatt is with a new friend named Tony, and there are two horses. Can you see Mini Moon over on the left?
See that.
And Big Moon. We donated our horses to Special Spirit when we left our little ranch, and there's some girls with Big Moon. And I tell you, this was such a hard thing for me, Shannon, to leave our little ranch and move into downsize. There's Mini Moon. And Wyatt, he's so proud of him. But when I see the joy that these horses bring our kids, typical and, on the spectrum, it's just amazing. Watching the little girls braid Mini Moons, they told me they're going to make them a unicorn for Halloween.
Oh, I love it.
So it was so great. But I know a lot of you out there are going through what we're going through, which is the end of summer blues, the beginning of school year anxiety. And we encourage you to listen to some New Age music, take some time for yourself, take a bubble bath if you can.
Yes, and take a little time. I've been hearing I'm taking tomorrow off. We're not doing a show tomorrow because I'm taking him to his first day of school, and then I'm taking the rest of the day off.
Good for you.
And there are other
No
moms that I know
electronics.
are watching that we're talking about this last night on Facebook about how they haven't taken their vacation time and they're going to lose it. And you should be taking your vacation time.
It doesn't
You
serve
have to
anybody
take
to and
some
not
time.
take your
You have
vacation
to
time.
refresh the batteries.
Yeah.
That's right. And I'm just taking one day, but that's going to be a major accomplishment. Be nice to yourself. Reward your kids. Make school fun.
Yeah,
Give them a
absolutely.
reward afterwards. And we're going to talk next week about packing the lunches and the snacks.
Yes, because
we're going to get all healthy on people.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got 30 seconds, but I just want to say, remember, no show tomorrow. We're back on Tuesday. Exciting week next week. We have moved the date that Byron Katie is going to be here. She's now going to be with us on November 4th.
I bet Byron, Katie, and Steve would like to talk.
Oh,
Yeah,
that'd
they'd
be
get
a
along
great
really
thing,
well.
wouldn't it? I was thinking Louise Hay too.
Louise
I'm a
Hay.
big Louise Hay
Yes,
fan, and
yes.
I'll bet that they're friends. I'll bet they know each other. But in any case, we want to thank our fabulous guest, Steve Robertson. We want to thank you for being here. I'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a big, huge hug from me.
All right. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.